Hi, welcome to the second episode of The Unlikely Reviewer. We're gonna review Tere episodes 21 and 22. We want to thank our 100 or so viewers for viewing our first episode. Thank you for watching, and apologies for the bad lighting, bad sound, but still watching the video and supporting us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the support. And if there's any feedback, please include it in the comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and like and subscribe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't share yet because we're still embarrassed about the quality. So let's wait until we're a little bit more professional, and then we can share.
Okay.
All right.
But I have to say we're super excited about reviewing this week's episodes because so much happened.
Really?
Yeah. So much happened that we could talk about, and I think there've already been so many reviews about particular scenes in the episode, so it's really nice to kind of have a chance to speak about it today as well.
Okay, so starting with episode 21.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it started with Malik Mukhtar apologizing and asking forgiveness for his son. The thing that stood out to me was his Thanos style 5 rings, huge stone rings on all 5 fingers. But apart from that, it was a good scene.
It was also the introduction of the new OST with this episode, which I thought, I was a little apprehensive about what was going to come out. But I think to fit with the current mood, the lyrics, it's not about the previous OST. Now it's kind of fitting the mood of the.
It does fit the mood, the lyrics as well.
Yeah.
But the thing, I didn't realize that I was attached to the older OST as much as I actually was, because I only realized it when the new OST came, and I'm like, something is off. Even the slow motion scenes, I feel like the rhythm was done according to the previous OST, so with the new one, it just seemed a little bit out of sync.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We can't.
But good job, and good job on the the makers to come up with such a quick solution. And shame on those who, out of jealousy and resentment, tried to, put a stop to Therabin. They just anyways, it was a really petty move. Shame on Z Music, who can say it.
Yeah, though I'm surprised because Z5 actually does a lot of Pakistani dramas, right? So their overarching company should be supported. But anyway, we digress. So we're gonna move on to. There's so much to talk about today.
Yeah.
So episode 21 starts with the apology, and then we kind of saw in the promo previously what was going to happen. And Sumaya and I spoke about this before the episode came, and that Murtasim kind of forgives Malik Mukhtar, and he seems genuinely, happy about that, and that his son is going to come out. He goes back, and that's where he sees Haya, Meerab kind of pacing, and then also his mom. So what's her name? Ma standing there.
Yeah. And
so they're all anxiously waiting for what happened, and he says that he forgave. Maine maaf kar diya. But then he says a line which I found was out of character for Murtasim, in the sense that he didn't need to kind of elaborate at that point. He kind of says, "Kisi ne mujhe kaha tha." The more, what did he say? What was that?
Maaf karne wale sabse taakatwar hote hain, whatever Meerab
had said in the previous episode.
Yeah.
But then he turns to look at her, so everybody's looking at this. It's not in private, really.
Yeah.
So he does actually turn around to look at her, saying to everybody else, "She's the one who told me." If he had done this in private while walking back, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But I just felt like it was a bit on the cheese end. For Murtasim, I was
you thought this was cheesy?
Yeah, no, there was more.
Wait till the rest of the episode of episode 22. But I didn't think it was that out of character for him to say it. But the look I thought was a little bit too much. Also because he knows that this decision to forgive Malik Mukhtar goes against what his mom had advised him. So by looking at Meerab, he kind of made it clear that she's the one who advised me, and he kind of like threw Meerab under the bus. Yeah. So like, so in that way, but you know, that was, I mean, it's fine, but then I think the key part of the scene was the fact that when Meerab was looking at him, she had like her eyes were, it was very clear that she is very, if she hasn't already fallen in love with him, she's super close. And the fact that he listened to her advice for a matter that is to do with his, like, you know, his stature, his gaddi nashin, his business, I think that showed her that he values her opinion, he respects her opinion, and he holds her opinion in high regard. So that, I think that's why Meerab, like, you know, apart from all the cheesy stuff that he does, I think this one kind of like appealed to her more.
Agreed. And then cut to, we are not going to talk about, I think, all of the scenes, but the important scene that came was Murtasim and Anwar.
Chacha. Oh
yeah,
my God.
right? It was
that was
really cute.
That was my favorite
Very
scene.
nice. Very nice. And it also kind of establishes the relationship that Murtasim has with his uncle versus what he has with Ma Begum. Like, they're like friends, right?
Yeah.
So then you see him kind of saying, oh, like, Chacha's a little angry. He really didn't have a chance with Murtasim. But anyway, he's like, how dare you, whatever, like, and then he says, you should be proud of me because you see that I would stand up for your daughter in front of anybody, even if it's her own father, right? And then he says, oh my God. And then he kind of like slipped it in. I almost missed it the first time. And he's like, I really love her. What? And it was so smooth, man. So good, so good. And then
Haj's diction is
so good. But yeah, it was because I've seen his dramas previously where he did speak English, and this was like 4 years ago. It was not like this. So I feel like he's modulated or like worked on the English. Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't watch his other dramas before. This is the first, kind of the first one that I'm watching of his. I mean, the guy's hot.
Yeah, no, and the English, I was like, wow, just
it's very smooth. And okay, so in this, like, this was actually my favorite scene out of the whole episode of episode 21, because it showed that beautiful relationship between the uncle and Murtasim. And like you said, like with his mom, it's more formal, and she raised him, you know, very like strictly. But I think with his uncle, it's more like they have more laud between them. And I loved how Murtasim, he's playing like a very macho, typical alpha male, and for him to say to his chacha, like, I also love you, and like to ask for forgiveness, and then to, you know, say I also love you. I thought that was very sweet.
Yes.
Like the fact that he he shows his emotion with his uncle, which is kind of rare, I think, in general for men
of that nature,
of our culture. You know, like it's almost like masculinity means like you can never show or display your emotion. So I loved it. It's not just like with Meerab, but even with his chacha, he's saying I love you, and that was cute.
He said sorry a few times in this series, which is really nice. Like he's apologized when he's wrong. Yeah. Which is I love that about him. That, you know, despite the macho, like you're saying, he can apologize when he's upset. And the other thing about this scene was he's like, you know, if you're with me, I'll deal with this. You know, I need your support. I'm not gonna do this on my own. But if you're with me, I know what our enemies are like. I'm aware of that. But if you're with me, we can tackle this together. Cut to oh my God, the Kheer scene. No, I have a lot to say about this, but so
I was like laughing out loud when Haya. I mean, everybody's sitting there, like, you know how they say, like on YouTube, there's a lot of comments that says like everything's temporary. Haya's behai is permanent. It's like his wife is there, the mom's there. It's like, I'm like,
who are you? What?
Why do you keep trying to like feed him and he said no to you like 20 times. And anyways, so I was just like laughing. It was cringe to the max.
So bad. But here, and this happens again in episode 22, so I'm going to make a reference. It starts with Meerab looking at Haya.
Yeah.
Murtasim looking at Meerab. This like you'll find like when you get to episode 22
with the Jashanda.
Yes, it's exactly the same. It's like oh, I'm so sorry. Like Murtasim's like I don't know.
Murtasim's like I didn't do anything.
I have nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
But I think the Kir scene, and I loved also that Ma Begum was like, hey, let's go. Like this is their private whatever moment.
Yeah.
It's very nice. I think she enables a lot of the...
So, I know, like, Ma Begum was made out to be, again, I said this in the last episode, I don't think she's a bad guy. I just think, like, whenever she's been super harsh with Meerab, including the slap, I think it's because she cares about her son and, like, the family, izzat and all of that. But in its, like, at her core... I don't think she I think she does want this relationship to be successful. She wants Meerab and Murtasim to be together. So I don't think so again, like this part, it was clear, like, she's like, no, it's his wife is here, she'll feed him, and then let's give them some privacy. It's not like she's over possessive about her son, like, oh, I'm gonna feed. No, it's not like that.
But the significance of this scene, I'm not sure, is it to add more spice, or it was almost like I wrote a note here about it being like the erotic element.
Why don't you say it?
Like, I just felt like it was kind of like, I don't know what he's saying, like you need to, like, what was it? Mujhe aur khilana hai. I was like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like, it felt like it meant something else. And it also showed how deprived this man is. Like, it truly did. Like, he had like the changes, and he's more Wahaj is very good at changing his expression. So that stare came back kind of in the middle of that Kir scene.
That stare,
oh please,
like, pleading.
He actually says, koi baat nahi, mujhe, I like you the way you are. Yeah. And then something about the patiya never coming off, because that means you'll come near me or touch me or whatever.
Yeah. Because Meerab says, like, let the patiyas come off, and then I'll not, like, I'm not gonna touch you then. Yeah.
Which like, obviously that touch means a lot more to him. That's all he's got at this point. Yeah. Please don't take that away from him. Poor man. Poor man. I feel for him. I do. And then, so they have this playful moment. She gets like, there's this Bollywood sequence, which was a little much.
I thought so too, especially like, okay, so when she puts that thing on his nose, to me, I'm like, okay, it's cute. Oh, he holds her hands, and then at some point he needs to wipe it off, and it was just sitting there, and that was bothering me. I was like, hey man, it's like a little zit. I'm like, that's not a good look.
No, it's
like, not for our Murtasim.
Yes, like his, Murtasim is clean, like flawless.
He's alpha. He's like, he's a,
Yeah, no, I felt the same way. I was like, I'm
like, just wipe it off, man.
Just wipe it off.
It's okay. And, she did it. You wipe it off.
And to Hassan from Something Hot? No, sir. No.
just no. Not with her nose. No, with her hand. No. He can just do it himself.
What do you mean nosy? No. that would be like banned from
like the Eskimo kiss. No.
But then I kind of did like the looks outside when they were sitting in there. It was very cute, like puppy. And I agree with Hassan. There was no spoon in that bowl, man.
I didn't realize all of the other things, like, if there's no spoon, they're gonna feed each other with their hands or whatever. But I was just like, why are you carrying that bowl? Like, dude, you're going to the playground. Like, why are you?
He's deprived. You don't understand so much.
That bowl is his
symbolic.
It's like, if this bowl is here, she'll feed me. There'll be some like interaction. Some kind of intimacy, Okay.
I'm sorry. Don't worry.
So all of that is fine, and then there's the scene with Murtasim and Haya conversation, where Haya comes and apologizes. I just don't understand. I mean, Murtasim, talks about it later in the episode where he's like, one sec. It's a scene where Haya apologizes to Murtasim. I don't know why he allows.
We missed the Bengali Baji part, and I want to speak to this.
Oh yeah,
that happened.
Was it here or was that
just before?
Because yeah.
Just before. So, and I have a problem with that. And the problem is they're kind of stereotyping.
Yeah.
We both come from Bangladesh. And so not that I'm offended. I just find that we don't associate with this kind of voodoo culture.
And also like like Bengali Baji, like Bengali part of it is not like relevant to the storyline at all. So they didn't really have to insert that, or have that description. So yeah, just a small issue with that.
Mm-hmm. But then you were saying the apology.
And then the apology scene, it's like she's like way too close. She's touching his arm, and he's allowing her to do that. And later on, he's like, I let her speak, whatever. I understand all of that, but I think he was so stern with Ma Begum for kicking out Meerab. But what about Haya coming to him and like lying about Meerab and all of that stuff? That like she was trying to come in between them. She was actually causing them harm. So he was like not talking to her or whatever. But that I still don't think that's consequence enough for Haya. That's not. And then now he's allowing her to like cook for him and like touch his arm. I feel like there's a double standard.
No.
I'm just gonna watch how he reacts to Rohil. Yeah. And if Rohil's like all like touchy-feely, all friendly with Meerab, I'm just gonna watch his reaction there, because I feel like it smells like double standard.
Not only, I think it's part of the deprivation that we're talking about. It all ties in. Okay, he's imagining her to be Meerab.
I don't.
But it's not. And then you're like, okay. And then secondly, he uses this line, but she's my cousin. I'm sorry, Meerab's your cousin too. Exactly. You got married to her. Like, you have the same relationship with her that you do with...
Just being a cousin doesn't make any... And she's still like a non-mahram, right? Exactly. Like, it doesn't give you any sort of liberty or any, like... Religiously, there's no difference between her and any other strange lady.
Yeah, exactly. So that doesn't make any sense. Then they have this little exchange inside the room, right? Yeah. Where like Meerab is kind of showing her anger or jealousy, which is totally appropriate.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Meerab 100%.
And then he tries to justify it again. It's like we've kind of seen this before. Yeah. But then when you know it's a problem, you should stop. Right? Exactly. And especially if you're trying to win her over, this is not going to work.
I think Meerab's reaction is perfectly justified and valid, and he should take heed of Meerab's discomfort, and her not being okay with this, and then should
stop it, like she said, which comes later in the conversation.
Exactly.
But it's very important.
I don't think Meerab is like. She's not insecure. She's not scared, but she just doesn't like it.
Yeah, she doesn't like it and doesn't get it.
Like it. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Then cut to
the garden.
The garden, but then it's so choppy, like you said. Something's missing. Something happened in between. He makes a phone call in the man cave area, right?
Yeah. So the phone call, I think is to have that arrangement. Like somebody had to come in and like set up everything, right? So yeah.
But then you see Meerab's like getting ready. Yeah. But then, okay.
Yeah, I wish there was a conversation between them where he says like, okay,
something's
can you just
tonight.
Dress up? Yeah. I'm not going to tell you what it is or something. Like there has to be like some kind of, I think there was one scene missing
or cut, because she says, like everything that I'm wearing is actually from you. So you must have given it to her. Where did she get the sari? Where did she get the jewelry, which by the way was beautiful. But like what I'm saying is he obviously gave it to her, and that must have been a very important scene that they kind of chopped, probably for OST reasons or whatever. But the fact is she comes out and then she says, which is weird, I mean she looks beautiful, like gorgeous. Her skin, her complexion is like,
her makeup, hair, she just looked unreal. She looked so beautiful.
And then, if you can't see my maroon,
inspired
and dedicated to Meerab, but like she looked
stunning. Fab. But I do have something to say about her sari. Like her sari itself, the color and everything was really beautiful. But I feel like you can, because we're from Bangladesh and our
sari is not great.
Yeah, the quality, but also the way she was wearing it. I feel like because we see our moms and aunts, like it's very common where like sari is very common in our culture, you can somehow see like, I don't know, there's a difference between carrying a sari gracefully and just having it all draped up and just, you know, standing there. So it looked a little bit off. And then the blouse, I have like so much issues with.
Yeah, I agree with Amna. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's like
it was
crinkled
loose.
here. Loose,
exactly.
Yeah.
Blouse should be really well fitted, and it's not about like showing skin but for that kind of a blouse, either it needed to have like a lower neckline, or it needed to have like a high, like a bun gala, like those Sabyasachi style, but it needed to be very like nicely fitted and nicely cut. So I feel like it was just like the neckline didn't work for me at all. The fit didn't work, and that kind of took away. But she looked beautiful. The jewelry I thought was really delicate. Although I didn't like how the sari was copper and the jewelry was yellow gold. It just didn't go. In and of itself, the jewelry is beautiful, and the sari, I think the sari looked nice, but the two didn't go together. But anyways, none of that mattered because she looked so beautiful. Right.
And then
Murtasim says,
you look beautiful. Yeah. Oh my god, he was so smooth. That man.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, like, you look in his eyes in that episode, he has so many shades, right? You can tell this is like, he's been waiting for this, right?
Yeah.
And that look of like, I'm in love.
Every expression that changes, there's
very
like
muted.
Not too many lines, you know? So it's all communicated through his expressions and his eyes. And sometimes if you just pay attention to his eyes, when he's angry versus when it's soft and dreamy, and, you know, when it's like him craving for her, that's another look. It's, oh my god, it's, that guy is a genius.
He has like so many, like after Fawad Khan, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got so many variations.
Yeah.
And like even his voice, he's like one tone down the entire like conversation that carries through to the next episode.
And I feel like this whole and Yulna too, she was so spectacular. She just did not miss a beat this entire 2 episodes. And I was telling Shubarna that if these scenes and then these lines were said by any lesser actors, it would have been so cheesy and would have been making fun of it. But because they're such like great artists, they were able to really play the scenes so well. And it was amazing. It was a great experience for all of us.
Yeah, for sure. And I know a lot of people commented on this being inappropriate for, you know, like I didn't think that they showed anything that was, I mean, I'm very conservative, I would say, in my viewing, and I even find like a lot of my viewing experience comes from imagination, right? So they did just enough, but not enough to kind of say, oh my god, what is this like?
Yeah, exactly. They left the rest of the imagination, but I think it's good to show affection. It's good to show some romance, because if it's about, oh, they're coming too close and they're touching each other, it's like when you're showing violence on screen, people are still pretty close and there's still touch, right, between the actors, and except like they're showing like a tupper or like, you know, shaking or pulling hair, whatever, and here it's showing affection. So I don't think I'd much rather watch this, and it's nice to see that a man who's like such an alpha male and so authoritative and all of that is able to be so soft. And caring and patient and all of those things with his wife.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, one also line where she says, you know, Haya did all of this and you're so ballsy for kind of taking this over. So I didn't understand. So Haya set this up the outside. So that's weird.
I think there's some like randomness here, because I think the food was by Haya, because she said like, oh, Haya, tumhari Haya, she like cooks well. But I don't think the setup was Haya, because why would Haya set up outside?
I don't know.
And what was Murtasim made that phone call. Yeah. But also for Murtasim, like if you're gonna make a phone call to set all those things up outside, why didn't you order some food as well? Like,
I know. Well, that food looks sad, man.
Why do you have to bring in Haya's cooking?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you could
just order it.
Order like a chef to like prepare some good meals or whatever. That was weird. Their dance.
I have some comments about that. We can talk about it. Like even before the dance, he says, he talks about love.
Yeah.
How he's basically saying that he's in love. Like he's basically said it to her without saying I love you. And then she says, "Mera naam mat lena," which I guess she hasn't really acknowledged that she's in love with him.
Why would she say like "Mera naam mat lo"?
Like it was a bit.
I mean, that's her just
strange.
being like playing hard to get.
Yeah, playing hard to get, 100%. But then she says, "Oh, I didn't feel any." Like he's like, "Oh, you don't really say anything about love. You feel it and this, that," and he gives this whole explanation. And she's like, "Oh, I haven't felt anything." Okay, well, you're blind.
That was very red. Of course, she just like episode 20. He's telling her like like the solution is not to break up. The solution is to like give so much love to the other person, like giriftar ho jana, and then whatever, and then I saved your life because I wouldn't have survived if you I wouldn't have been able to live if you didn't survive or whatever. Like, what is she like? He just like gave.
She's in denial, basically.
I don't know if she's in denial or she just wants to hear more.
Yeah, because she asks like these very pointed, like rhetorical questions.
Yeah.
Like, so who is it?
Yeah.
Really?
Who is it? Like,
Meerab, you really don't know?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And then
maybe he's not explicit enough.
Yeah, you really don't want this man to have a meltdown. I'm telling you, it's not gonna end well for Meerab.
No, the other thing that confused me was him saying like, even when you're mad, gusse mein bhi tumhare chehre par sukoon hai, and then tumhare aankhon mein sirf mohabbat.
But for who? Yeah, like for herself.
For yourself.
Self-love.
Self-love. Hassan self-pleasure.
This there been a lot about self-love and self-pleasure.
Yeah.
But he says, oh my god, if you stay with me a little longer, you're gonna feel everything, right? And then again, I had the exact same reaction as Hassan, where like, this is so like, what is this dialogue? Like, Siraj bhai, come on. We're not dumb.
No, that's Noura Magoo. I actually saw her interview. She was so awesome. I loved her personality.
She loves her hero.
And she's like, it's so cool because I feel like everything that we're feeling, she felt it while writing it. So she enjoyed writing it, and we're enjoying watching it, and it's all there. But yeah, these lines are just they have so many double meanings.
And then, so the dance, the first part I felt could have been more fluid. It was kind of awkward where he kind of, that first part where he turns around. Yeah, it feels like they're in this weird kind of place. But then slowly when she comes up, that was much more smooth. But this turnaround, the first part, I was like, it looked weird a little bit. If you look back on it, I felt like it wasn't as fluid and natural, and it could be because it's kind of weird. They've never done this before. But like, not that normally we would, but it was still cute. And then and
she slides in her
slides in her hand and just looks so like magical.
But more than that, like him touching her back
and bringing her. What is that, sir? No.
That's better than kheer eating for sure.
That's the tasalli.
That's
all I need.
That's the beginning of the tasalli.
You're gonna give me more, friend. But then, and then, so I don't know if he does kiss her hands because
really I didn't. So I didn't go back and watch it.
I watched it again.
I didn't rewatch it, but from what I remember, there wasn't like he was about to, and then she pulls.
But they don't show a continuous scene. They kind of show that he's bringing, and then they just show her running, and then he smiles. So we don't know what happened in between. Why did she run? So you know what I mean?
Yeah, every time she gets shy, she just like.
I think something happened. Something happened, and he was just standing there and smiling, and it's like, oh my god, at least.
Really?
Yeah, look at that again. It's not a continuous.
I have to go.
It's not a continuous scene. Hassan, you are very
sharp. No,
sharp.
I from what I remember, like he was just like getting close, and then she. But you're right. That. Yeah, maybe.
So.
तसल्ली तो बहुत सारे मिल गए.
And then they go to the room, and it's the Joshanda.
Yeah, so that part where he starts sneezing, I'm like, so I had the same kind of reaction as some other people where I thought that in this episode, like they just softened him up a little too much.
No.
Like this guy,
Alpha too.
he gets he's like allergic to fish.
Yeah.
He had all these patias, which is okay, fine. Like, you know, he got in an accident, but then he stood outside for like a little bit of time. Like, and it's like Pakistani winter is not even like
not a thing.
Not even like why would you? And she was wearing like a chiffon sari, and you're like fully in like a 3-piece suit. Like, how did you end up catching a cold so bad? Like
from the no socks.
Yeah, that was. I feel like he's like too delicate.
Yeah. And then she says, "Ab ye kya hai Murtasim?" It's like what now? Come on. And then he's like, "Jo shanda bana do."
But before that, I thought that was it. Like even her, like, oh, how do we, like, what do we do to help you now? If you can see the difference between, you know, the previous Meerab and like this Meerab was a little bit more caring.
A little bit.
And even though she's like, oh, I'm not gonna make this.
Which is
but she's like, she still brought in like the tissue box, held it to him. Yeah. You know, he's like blowing his nose and all of that. Like she's
grossed
disgusted.
out.
No,
that's why he came.
No, that's what I was gonna say. Like she's not grossed out. Like she's still being like, I don't know. I feel like she's more caring, like in her own way.
You see, if it was Murtasim, he would give his shawl. I'd be like, "Here, sneeze."
I wouldn't want him to give his like pristine shawl for somebody to blow their noses in.
Yeah, he's softened too much.
And Haya has like no sense of like what time it is or whatever. She'll just like walk into their room in the middle of the night with the jushanda.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. So,
and then there's the kitchen.
Yeah, there's a self-harm sequence with Haya, which makes me think now she's like on the crazy side.
So that I was gonna say that. Like I understand. I don't think they're showing this like just like that. Like with I don't think they're being callous with this kind of scenes because they're showing like she went to the Bengali Baji out of desperation. Then Murtasim had that accident. She's like, oh, I can't go back to her, like because she realizes, oh my God, you know, the consequences can be serious. And then again, when Meerab's back and their relationship is getting all fixed up, and she's getting desperate again. And so every time she feels more and more desperate, she's like losing it, right? And then going to the Bengali Baji again, and then now doing this like whatever voodoo upstairs, and then doing the self-harm. These are all showing step by step how she's going closer and closer to kind of like going over the edge, right? So I thought that's what it was. Yeah,
that's not normal behavior to do that, and that's.
So if that's what they're trying to show, I think that's. I mean, I guess that's okay, and they're not showing all of this in a good light, right? They're not showing she's not the protagonist of the drama, some bichari protagonist, and they're like burning themselves. So it's what you should do if you are if you're in love and you're not, it's not reciprocated. I think it's like when you see Haya, you're seeing like what not to do, right? So I'm okay. That's okay. I don't think they're showing it super lightly.
I think to even bolster that point is that if they showed Murtasim not reciprocating and actually condemning this kind of behavior, then it would also make for the viewers like more sense, because if you're crazy in love with someone who doesn't love you back, they're not going to encourage this kind of behavior. Exactly. So that would really have made it the point better, rather than showing Murtasim. And even in the next promo, why is she in her car? She in his car. Exactly. Right? Yeah, we're talking about the promo. I was just saying, like, why, like, Murtasim, why are you driving just with her? You know, it's like even Ma Begum's behavior. I think she knows she's in love with him. Yeah. But why is she still? I feel like they really let her get away with a lot. Yeah. Yeah. And then in the kitchen. And then the kitchen. So she's looking for her, ingredients to make the joshanda. And by the way, I just love Meerab's acting. Her natural expressions, her look, everything was very good. Spot on. Yeah. And then she looked really nice. Like really nice in that peach dress. Oh, and then Murtasim, once he changes, like showers, puts on his semi see-through white kurta, and you can see his like beautiful back. I don't know how Meerab
is still resisting this man.
That's why he wore a shawl.
But then he covered it up with the shawl for her.
Yeah.
You know, in case she doesn't lose it in the kitchen. But you know, he gave us a glimpse of it.
But it also shows kind of his alpha male characteristics, that scene, because he's always got his eyes on Meerab.
Yeah.
Where is she?
Yeah.
Like twice in this episode. The first time's like, where is she? Then he ends up in the kitchen. So we're talking about it, and then he kind of creeps up from behind her. Hey, what you doing? And she's like, okay.
And then your sip thing.
Yeah, sip thing. So then he's like, oh, you bana loge, and then she's like, yeah, well, you don't trust me, then you can go ask your haya to go make you one. But then, and then she's like, do you want like sugar or honey? And he's like, oh, just take a sip. And he says it like, it's a split second, and then he kind of moves, and he gives a look and goes. A lot of people found that cheesy. I actually thought that was
I think that was totally
so playful.
Cool.
So
that's exactly who Murtasim is.
They do that in private, man. Who cares?
And like that's his whole
aura.
Yeah, that's his aura. I think he's so like larger than life and like this stern, firm guy. And then in private, he's a playful, mischievous kind of a character, right? Like he does all this like jokes. Even the thing like, oh, I remember I told, like when she's all scared, he's like, huh, you know, how I told you there's like jinn and like Atma, whatever, in the house. Like, so he's a playful guy, and it's all part of that. So yeah, it was cute for him to say like, oh, take a sip.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, who likes a guy who's tough with your wife? Like if
in private,
if he carried that same characteristic, we'd be like, he's an abuser.
He's like any other these like
abusive, exactly. Like that's not
male characters they're always showing on
right.
TV.
So he would then become toxic. But he's very like.
Yeah, he's so sweet and playful, and he's got like a kind of like a playful streak as well.
Yes.
So
and then
I think that's about it.
That's it, right? Then she used the shadows or whatever after. And then again he ends up there. So basically he's got his eyes on
It's like So I thought that she's gonna see shadows, and then it's gonna be Rohil who's gonna just show up.
But why would he be there?
I don't know. I just thought like when I saw the promo previously, I thought it might be him, but I think it's like Haya's whatever randomness voodoo thing.
And he takes the opportunity to
be like, okay,
come here. I will protect you. I'll go up the stairs with my little shawl. But the next promo looks stunning. They look really good. And Rohil, man, you're in deep doo-doo. This is not a battle you wanted to pick.
Yeah, I mean, Rohil had cake before. This time he's gonna have other things stuffed in his mouth.
Yeah, like the look Murtasim gave, like.
But you know what? I liked how Murtasim didn't like walk in on them having a conversation or anything. Like that would have been very typical, right? Like he actually walks in while she's still like shocked and kind of it was looking all unexpected. Yeah. So next episode, the first thing that was random is like, why is he driving with Haya? And then we see the Malik Zubair coming back. So I think, and then Rohil's back. So I think the drama is reaching its climax because all of the negative characters are kind of like closing in on them. Haya with her voodoo, Rohil with like completely delusional fantasies of Meerab, and then Malik Zubair, hellbent on revenge. So yeah, it's gonna definitely get more interesting. So looking forward to next week's episodes.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
All right. Thanks for listening.
If you like Urdu dramas, please like, subscribe with notifications turned on.